Okay, let's go over to 10-3 self-quiz. So, let's go, so. Now, notice I give all the formats. You always have that. I always like to give you the formats. You just gotta know how to use them. Most of the time, I won't separate this geometric. I'll have all of them there, so you gotta know when to use a geometric one. But in this case, it's just right there. So, given a geometric sequence, 25, 5 fourths, 5 16, find R the common ratio. So that's actually not a formula. You gotta know how to find R. I mean, it's like a mini formula, but it's not given. Which is an plus 1 over an. All that means is put like a2 over a1. That's all it is. So in this case, this would be my a1, this would be my a2, a3, and so on. So I just got to put 5 over 20 and reduce that, and I get 1 over 4. That is my common ratio. If you look at it, that's what's going on. You're just dividing by 4 every single time. So 20 divided by 4 is 5, 5 divided by 4 is 5 fourths, and so on. Or multiplying by 1/4. Same idea. Write an equation for the nth term. So all I want is an equation, the general equation, as you can see right here. Now it's for a term, so I'm going to use this one. It's on the sum. It's on the infinite sum, so it's a term. So we're using that formula there. So it's going to be an equals a1 times r to the n minus 1. Now we have all those terms. a1 is 20. R we just found is 1/4. So let's say an equals 20, 1/4 to the n minus 1. And that is it. That's all you can do. A lot of people I see multiply these two together. You cannot. Remember order operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So parentheses, exponents, and then multiplication, right? So that would come after. So you cannot multiply these together. This is just your answer. Find the sum of the first 12 terms of the sequence. So now it's a sum equation. So we go up there, use our sum equation right there. Now I actually like to use this one, which is a1, 1 minus r to the n, all over 1 minus r. So we sub everything in. a1 is 20 still. 1 minus 1/4 to the n. So in this case, 12 terms. So n is 12 over 1 minus 1/4. I can simplify that, but that's what we have a calculator for. So let's bring out our calculator. And then sub it in. So easiest way to do that, second y equals, and we have 20, 1 minus 1/4, or 0.25, whatever you want to do, to the 12th power, all over 1 minus 1/4, or 0.25. 1/4, I meant to put 1/4. So 26.25, or if you want a fraction, again, I'm fine with either one. Still 26.666508. So this will round it to the nearest tenth. And there we go. Approximately. Little approximately signs. Next question. Is the sequence convergent or divergent? Remember that? Convergent is when r is less than 1, absolute value, and divergent when r is greater or equal to 1. Our r was 1/4, so we're convergent. So convergent. Find the infinite sum if possible. So remember, infinite sum is a different formula. It is the one right here. And it only works when it's convergent, when r is less than 1. And since we are convergent, we could do it. So infinite sum is a1 over 1 minus r. a1 is 20 over 1 minus 1/4. You could put that in your calculator, but come on. 1 minus 1/4 is 3/4. That's a divide sign, so 20 times the reciprocal, so 4/3. And I get 80 over 3. So that's the infinite sum. Again, kind of crazy. If you're adding 20 plus 5 plus 5/4 all the way forever, you're going to only get 80 over 3. So that's the first one. Second one's a little tougher. Given the geometric sequence where a4 equals 32, find r. They want me to find a1. So if you remember our general formula, an equals a1 times r to the n minus 1. I don't have a1, so you always go back here to find a1. So that's how we're going to find it. You always go back to the original formula and plug in what you do know. I know when n is 4, I get 32. So when I plug 4 for n, my value is 32. And I know r is 4. So I'm going to get 32 equals a1 times 4 to the 4 minus 1. So 32 equals a1 times 4 to the third. So that's what, 64. So 32 equals a times 64 divided by 64. And I get a equals 1/2. 32 over 64 is 1/2. So there's my a1. The first term of the sequence is 1/2. Write an equation for the nth term of sequence. We did this before, right? So nth term of sequence is this formula right here. And now we have everything we need. We have a1 we just found is 1/2. We have r is 4. So an equals 1/2 4 times n minus 1. And just like before, remember, this is your answer. Don't give me 2 to n minus 1. You cannot multiply these yet. Power comes first. So that is your answer. Is the sequence convergent or divergent? So remember, same concept. If r is less than 1, it's convergent. If r is greater than 1, or equal to 1, it's divergent. R here is 4. So this is divergent. And find the sum if it's possible. It is not possible. It's only possible when r is less than 1. So not possible. And that was the self quiz.